Alright, Shalom, giving all praises, honor and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom to Akim teaching this word around the globe with faith and in truth, and also with sincerity. This is the brother Caleb from the GMS London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to edify and feed the Lord's elect. I'd like to begin as always by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to get Israelites that do look like the other nations, because Israel as a people has been scattered amongst all people throughout our various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite, no matter what you may look like. Because the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18, clearly states that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers, okay? So, I have a topic that I want to get into in mind, but once again, I'm just putting the camera on and flowing in the spirit, so there's a couple of things that might pop into my head which I might speak on. Yeah, so in the last lesson I did, I was talking about the potential dangers of you being out on the street trying to teach this word, because, you know, we're in the midst of our enemies, and that we're in the midst of our enemies, and they don't like us, and they don't like this word, and they want to prevent us from bringing this word out. We're surrounded by demons constantly being in this truth. And I gave a testimony of an incident which took place last Sunday when I was at the camp with the brothers, where a man ended up getting violently assaulted at the camp, and he was knocked unconscious by a demon who came up with no reason whatsoever to attack this man. And I brought out in the lesson the fact that one of our own people, a Jake man, came up and was talking shit to us, saying, you know, why didn't we do anything? Why didn't we help the man? And in that lesson, I actually said, you know what, we're not out there to be street fighters. You know, we're not out there to be getting into fist fights in the street of the camp. We're only there to teach the word, whether people hear or whether they forbear. You know, Isaiah 58:1 says, cry aloud, lift up your voice as a trumpet. Let me get that to begin with. Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Yes, Isaiah 58:1, it says, cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and shew my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. You know? So that's what we're called to do. So that's exactly what we were doing. Now, the funny thing is that it seems like when I say something, it ends up coming to pass. Scary. Well, if we're the prophets, Lord willing, we are. This is our purpose, to say things before they happen. Well, an interesting thing happened this week, because I mentioned in the last video that, you know, people carry knives, you know. I remember saying that because you don't know when you're dealing with these people anymore. You might think it's a simple, cut and dry case of you just trying to step in and help this person. The spirit that's on the demon might just turn around and pull out a knife and stab you in the throat. Then you die. Well, guess what happened? I live in an area somewhere in London, and I read a news article, I believe it yesterday or the day before. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Bear with me. Let me see if I can find this article. Yep, here we go. Now, I'm not going to name the area I live in, but I live in London. No surprise for those who probably follow my channel. But anyway, this article was published on Thursday, so it's yesterday, yeah? Look what happened. Man killed and 2 people injured in East London stabbing. It says no arrests have yet been made, say Metropolitan Police. It says a man has died after a knife attack took place in London on Wednesday evening. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because this incident happened quite near to where I live. Not to put my information out there, Lord willing, but literally, I guess it's a, you know, 7-minute walk from where I live. So it says a man has died after a knife attack took place in East London. 2 other people were also injured in the stabbing Yeah, right on my doorstep pretty much. And it says Metropolitan Police were called to reports of a stabbing at approximately 5:20 p.m. on Wednesday and attended along with the London Ambulance Service. An 18-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene, and his next of kin have been informed, a police spokesperson said. Two other people were found with slash wounds to their hands and were taken to an East London hospital. Their injuries have been assessed and they are non-life-threatening. No arrests have been made at this early stage, said the spokesperson, and a crime scene remains in place around the area. An MP for the area shared news of the incident on Facebook, said, "I'm sorry to share with you the formal details tonight from the police regarding a fatal stabbing in our community. I would ask you not to speculate about this matter out of respect to the family who have tonight lost a son. As soon as I have further details, I will share," she added. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers, blah, 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 blah. So that event took place yesterday. And it's so funny because it's right on my doorstep, essentially. So someone just got stabbed down the road. And two other people had slash wounds from this incident. And the man's dead. The man is dead. An 18-year-old man, apparently. Now, this is funny because this is the second guy to die on pretty much on my doorstep in a space of, say, few years. Because I remember a couple years back, a boy, I think he's a 14-year-old boy, got knocked off his moped, and then by some guys in the car. They knocked him off his moped, and when he was on the floor, they came and they stabbed him up, and he died. That was just down the road, and that was just a few years ago. And I remember this because it made the news. It was a big thing. Made the news, was in the newspapers, all that stuff. And I remember seeing, you know, when people die, usually people put flowers in the street and stuff like that, which is kind of pointless in a way. And I remember walking past the scene and I saw these schoolgirls there sitting on the floor with candles and they were crying and shit. And, you know, the guy died. That was a couple of years back. And now another person's been stabbed just down the road from where I live. So, you know, the streets are evil out there, man. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately the judgment of the Lord, because the Lord required these people's souls. But the fact of the matter, why I'm speaking on this briefly, is because it's just another reminder that you have to be careful and you have to be vigilant in this truth, because there are no promises. No man is promised tomorrow. You know, so what's to say that your spirit might not be required by Yahweh in the spiritual realm this day or the next day or the next? Now, the way I look at things is this. I mean, I've been in some pretty precarious situations myself a couple times, and there's been times where I feel like, whoa, that was a close call, you know. If that didn't happen, I might have dropped dead. Let me give you a brief testimony as an example. Let me put it this one out. Some years ago, you know, I was working a job, and I was doing kind of like working for one of those upmarket companies in upmarket shops in central London, where I was in the delivery department, responsible for the stuff coming in and the stuff going out of the shop, and they called it goods in. And in the mornings, like, I used to have to start early in the morning, like, I think, what did I start, 6:30 in the morning, something like that. I had to be there for 6:30 in the morning, or some madness. Or was it 7? Early hours, but it was in the winter basically, and I had to start. And basically, the shop is going to open at maybe 10 a.m. and every day they need to get stock in. And it was a shop which sold various goods, clothes, perfume, designer fabrics, very sort of upmarket shop where a lot of wealthy Edomites would shop, you know, one of those department stores type places. So in the morning, I just have to be there, and we'd get the lorries coming in, and the lorry would park up the road. And I don't know if any of you know this, but you've probably seen it if you haven't done this job before, but you've probably seen it. Lorries carry a lot of stock, and they stack them on pallets, yeah? And you have to, when you're a lorry driver, you got to do your delivery. So the lorry driver will come, park his lorry, and then with what you call a pump truck, if you don't know, you don't know. They have one of these things that you do this motion, and it lifts the pallet up, and then you pull it and you drag it to the entrance of the shop. the rear of the shop where they take all the deliveries in, the place which most people don't see, you know, the behind the scenes part of these shops. So my job was to meet the lorry driver. He'd put the stuff on the pump truck, on the pallet. Then he'd because the lorries, the end of a lorry isn't at street level, so they have a little lift on the back of their trucks to you reel the stuff onto the lift. The lorry driver presses the button, the lift comes down, then you pull it off the lorry, drag it down the road to the shop, and put it in the goods in department. Then they unpack it. Then it gets delivered to each various department of the shop. For example, if it's clothes, it goes to the clothes department. If it's perfume, it goes to the perfume. Jewelry to jewelry. Designer fabrics to designer fabrics. Furniture to furniture. You know, because they sold a lot of stuff there. So my job was to take the stuff off the lorry, get it into the shop, and then unpack it and deliver it to the various departments. So I was doing this for a while, got used to doing it, and I used to have to meet the lorry driver early in the morning. Now this was in winter, so it was pretty dark and it's fucking cold in the winter, ice on the ground and shit. Now on this particular day, I was doing it as normal. You know, I got familiar with a couple of lorry drivers. They knew me, I knew them. The guy was putting the stuff on the because these were stacked quite high, because this is at Christmas time, and at Christmas time shops make the most of their money because they sell a lot of product at Christmas, so they're always having to be restocked. Now, one of the things I learnt when doing this job was, you won't believe how heavy chocolate can be. When you've got pallets of chocolates, you know, chocolate bars, you know, that a bar of, you know, when you get the bar of chocolate, it's got the foil and you unwrap it. That shit weighs a lot. When you've got loads of them stacked up in these pallets, that shit weighs a ton. You'd never think it, but it does. Anyway, so on this particular day, I was standing in the street waiting for the lorry driver to put the stuff on the back of the lorry so he could lower it to the street level and lift, and then I'd pull it off. But the things were stacked extremely high because they knew that the shop was selling X amount of this product and it was selling really, really well. So they stacked it up really high, so they had loads of stock. But the thing is, they stacked it probably too high because it lost its center of weight distribution. So when it was stacked up so high, a little push would cause it all to fall over. The lorry driver didn't realise. So I'm standing in the street, where the lorry's here and the lift will come down to the street. I'm standing here. The lorry driver's putting the stuff on here and he can't see me because he's behind the stuff, pushing it onto the lift. Now he's pushing it and it stopped. And I was in the street and I was just thinking, and I was actually meditating on the word of the Lord, because that was always in my head, man. Always in my head. Like when I'm not reading in my everyday life, I'm usually meditating on scriptures and trying to look at the world through spiritual eyes. Like I always filter things through the scriptures. Now this was some years ago. What year was it? 2011. So I was there and, you know, I was watching, and the streets were pretty empty and it's cold. It was early in the morning, like 7 a.m. And so the lorry driver pushes the stuff on the pallet and he doesn't realise that because it's so high, it was teetering and going to wobble. Me, I'm just standing there, you know, meditating on the scriptures. So I heard something say, look at that thing. It's wobbling. Like the spirit kind of warned me because I was standing right there. And I thought, shit, I better step back. And the thing started to fall over and the lorry driver goes, hey, look out, look out. And the stuff dropped off the pallet. And if I was standing there, I would have been crushed by it because that shit was fucking heavy. Could have been fatal. But thankfully, the spirit of the Lord told me to look at that thing. It's gonna fall. I stepped back. Bang, it landed right where I was standing. And the lorry driver was like, oh shit. Because he didn't know that I had moved. He thought I'd been crushed under the stuff. I said, oh shit, are you all right? Are you all right? And I was like, yeah, I saw it was unstable. He goes, oh, I thought you was a gunner, mate. I thought you was a gunner, mate. And he looked like he was about to have tears in his eyes because he really thought that I was crushed under that shit. He thought he'd fucked up. But thankfully, through the Spirit of the Lord, I was delivered that day. Now, that's just one example of a situation where I've had a close shave. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is to say this, because the way I look at my life with my personal testimony of the things that I've been through and experienced, every day when I wake up, I think to myself, there's only one reason why the Lord has kept me alive. And the only reason why He's kept me alive is because He needs me to do this work. If the Lord no longer has need for me, he might as well call me back into the spiritual realm and kill me. That's the way I view it. So the way I see it is that if I haven't died today, the reason why I haven't died today is because the Lord wants to use me to push this word tomorrow. And that's the way I've looked at my life ever since then, 2011, and even before that. Even before that, because I knew that I just always had a feeling that there was a higher calling in my life. Even when I was back in the world, I kind of got annoyed at the fact that everything was so low level, and people trying to say to you, oh, nobody can ever work out the meaning of life and all this kind of shit. So you're just some guy who's got no history because your history has been stripped from you. You're just a so-called black person, which have no history before you was taken on cargo slave ships, and you're supposed to just swallow that. So you've got no history, and you've also got no future because you're not going to amount to anything because you're a so-called black person, and black people don't really elevate above their station in Esau society. That's the sort of stigma that's on us. So that type of projection I always hated. I thought, fuck, I'm not wearing that suit, man. They're not gonna pigeonhole me like that. So that's why I was always kind of searching for a deeper meaning and a higher purpose. And I think a lot of brothers in this truth always in their mind knew that there was more to this world that was beyond the surface of the simplicity of everyday life, which has deluded most of the people in this world. So back to the original point of why I'm saying that is because, well, yeah, to put forth the fact that if you ain't doing the work of the Lord, what are you really doing? Because Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 states that fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So if you're not fearing the Most High and keeping the commandments, what are you doing? You're really on the road to perdition, waiting for your own destruction, essentially. Because there's only one way out of salvation out of this mess, and that's through Yahweh Shai. So if you're not doing the will of Yahweh Shai and you're doing the will of yourself, you're basically living a vain life. And you're going to say these words ultimately in the end, which is in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, starting from the first verse, which I'll read now. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, and the first verse. It says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him, of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labours. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, This was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honour. How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot is among the saints? Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts where there lay no way, but as for the way of the Lord we have not known it. What hath pride profited us, or what good hath riches with our vaunting brought us? All these things are now passed away like a shadow, as a post that hasted by. Let me use an example of that. Imagine you're driving in a car, and you look out the window and you see a post go past you. It hasted by. It's there for 1 second and then it's gone. You're going to see other posts and stuff, but that one is past. So that's an example of what the scripture's saying. As a post that hasted by. And as a ship that passeth over the waves of the water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, neither the pathway of the keel in the waves. So like when a ship's sailing through the water, as a ship passes through, you're going to see a parting in the water, but as soon as that ship's gone, that water closes up, and there's no sign that the ship ever passed through it. That's what these people's lives are going to be likened unto. All this stuff people have been busting their balls, breaking their asses trying to get, is all going to be counted as nothing. It's not going to last. It's going to perish. It's all going to perish, and the only thing that's going to remain is the word of the Lord and the hopeful elect. they're going to be the only things to remain from this kingdom. Bear me, Slakia. You know, so everything that these people have worked for and saved up for and laboured for, it's all for naught, man. It's all for naught. Continuing on. And it says, or as a bird, when it hath flown through the air, there is no token of her way to be found. But the light air being beaten with the violent noise and motion of her wings, afterwards there is no sign where she went through to be found. So like when a bird's flying, it's beating the air violently, but when the bird's gone, there's no sign that the bird ever passed through that part of the air. It says, or as like when an arrow shot at a mark, it parteth the air, which immediately cometh together again, so that a man cannot know where it went through. Even so we, in like manner, as soon as we were born, began to draw to our end, and had no sign of virtue to show, but were consumed in our own wickedness. For the hope of the ungodly is like dust that is blown away with the wind, like a thin froth that is driven away with the storm, like as the smoke which is dispersed here and there with the tempest, and passeth away as a remembrance of a guest that tarrieth but for a day. It says, but the righteous live for evermore, and their reward is also with the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High. Now that's an important one. Let me read that again. It's Wisdom of Solomon 5:15. But the righteous live for evermore, their reward also is with the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High. So I was talking about that because there was a situation which happened a stone's throw away from where I live, where somebody unfortunately received the judgment of the Most High to be stabbed and die. And as I said, that's the second guy to die right on my doorstep in the past few years. So that, you know, there's wickedness out there, man. You know, in fact, I can give another testimony on some of the madness that I've experienced in my own life. I remember one time some years ago, now this must have been 2007. The 2007 year. I used to have a group of friends who lived about 30 minutes away. Not too far on the bus, but back in them days, I used to hate spending money on bus fares. So if I could walk it, I'd usually walk it, you know, because trying to save money and stuff. But so I used to walk there, and it was, you know, we used to hang out, we used to chill, we used to be friends and stuff. And sometimes we'd stay up watching films or whatever we was doing. There's a group of us who used to be friends. I used to be friends with this group of people. And so sometimes we'd be up late, you know, being young and stuff. And, you know, we'd watch films till late in the night. And sometimes I wouldn't end up leaving his place until early in the morning, like say maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. And I'd walk home. And at the time I used to like walking because I would just, you know, be thinking and just about my business. And for a strange thing, I should say, I always felt safer when I was by myself. Like me, I'm very streetwise and very vigilant. And for some reason, well, I guess it's the Spirit of the Lord that's kind of protected me, that I don't usually get into trouble when I'm alone. Usually it's other people that seem to attract the trouble. And I've always been a kind of a loner anyway, so usually when I'm walking, I'm by myself. But anyway, I was walking home from this friend's house that late night. And it's about 3 in the morning, 3 or 4. And I'm walking down this road. And there weren't many cars driving because it's so early in the morning and it's, you know, dark. Now I'm walking down this road, just thinking as I'm thinking. This is before I knew the truth, but I was still just thinking about life and stuff with questions about, you know, the questions, why am I here? You know, is God real? And, well, I believe God was real because I did believe that much at that time, but I didn't know the full extent of the knowledge that I know now about being an Israelite. I didn't know that I was an Israelite at that point, but I believed in the Most High. I've always believed in the Most High ever since I came out my mum's womb. But anyway, so I'm walking down the road and I saw a car coming towards me, and it was quite a wide pavement and quite a wide road. but there were no cars parked on that road because I think there's yellow lines, so cars don't park there. And it was a curve. And I saw this guy coming towards me, and I thought, this guy looks weird. Something about this guy just looked weird. And you know what he did? He saw me, and then he started speeding up. So he accelerated towards me, and I thought to myself, this guy's trying to intimidate me. I could just, in the spirit, I just kind of knew. So the guy's speeding towards me, and I was walking with my hands in the pocket. I thought, don't be scared, don't be scared. And I kind of stopped. I stopped walking, and the car's coming towards me, and it came off the road and onto the pavement. And the guy, I saw the guy in the car. He's like, he had a real demon's face on him, man. I saw this guy's face, and he literally skidded, like he turned the wheel. Like, it's like he wanted to run me over, but I guess the Spirit of the Lord didn't let him do it. He literally skidded, and the car spun round. Hey, I've got a toy car here. So let's use this as an example. There's a toy car. So I'm standing here. The guy speeds towards me, and he, like, say you're from, let me put myself here. This is, my fingers represent me. The guy's speeding towards me, and he skids like this right near me, and then he puts the car in reverse. No, let me do it. He comes towards me, he slows down like really suddenly, and he skids, and then he puts the car in reverse and then speeds up and drives the other way. So I don't know what spirit was on this man. I hope I explained that well. I can't really do a great demonstration because there's not much width on the camera. If it was that way around, maybe I could do it better. But the point is, the guy saw me. I was the only person on this pavement. He saw me, sped up, then skidded to a halt, then quickly put the car in reverse, tore off again, and there's skin marks on the road. And I looked at that situation, I thought, I had my hands in my pocket, and I was just standing there. I thought, what the hell just happened there? It's like the guy saw me and he wanted to run me over, and his face was like his total demon face. And I guess the Spirit of the Lord didn't allow him to do it, and nobody else was around to see it. And me, it's a lot of weird things about me. The thing about me is that I don't usually complain about stuff like it's just, I don't usually complain about stuff if I don't perceive there being a point in it. Like, for example, I've just learned to, you know, shut up and get on with it kind of thing. So at the time, I didn't think to call the police. I didn't get the guy's license plate, and I didn't really talk about it. I didn't even bother to say much to people because I was just, whoa, that was weird. I could have died there, but who cares? Because at the time I was very kind of withdrawn anyway. I've always been kind of withdrawn, and I didn't really mention it. But as the years have gone by, I've meditated on it more, and now I know the knowledge of this truth. I understand that there's demons out there. There's demons out there, and obviously that demon, if it wasn't for the Spirit of the Lord protecting me, I would have been run over and I might have died that night. And that's not the only situation that I've been in that's been weird, where I thought, hey, you know what, man, I could have died there, but the Lord delivered me and protected me. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because you can't take for granted that each day on this earth might be your last day. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I can look back at that situation now, where the guy was skidded on the road and almost ran me over. I mean, he literally came on, he mounted the pavement, man. He mounted the pavement. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I can look back at that now and I can say to myself, well, look, you know what? The reason why I didn't die then is because the Lord wanted me to be here right now, today, at this moment in time, doing this lesson, teaching His word, pushing the word. That's the only reason why I'm still alive. That's the only reason why any man in this truth is still alive. Because if the Lord didn't need us, He'd do away with us. But because of His word and His promises, the prophecies have to, because of Yahweh's word and His promises, the prophecies have to play out. And we're part of those prophecies, Lord willing, we be of the hopeful elect. So we have a very important part to play, on this earth. So therefore our lives aren't frivolous and they're not really to be taken for granted. You know? So that's that. I'm going to get onto another topic now. Let me see if I can pull up this article on the phone. Not on the phone, I've got an iPod, that's what I'm using to pull up this article. So here's an article I was reading, a brother sent me yesterday. This is from, published yesterday, 18th of March. I believe 18th of March was yesterday. It says, misogyny is now officially a hate crime, Sadiq Khan confirmed. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sadiq Khan is this dude here, if you can see it on the screen. He's the current mayor of London. This weedy looking dude there. So it's not coming up very clearly, but... So it says, on the 17th of March, Mayor of London Sadiq Khan shared a tweet confirming that misogyny will now be recorded by police as a hate crime. The news came about after ministers came under pressure to tighten the laws surrounding the protection of women following the murder of Sarah Everard, as reported by The Telegraph. Seven constabularies across the UK currently do record misogyny as a hate crime, but following yesterday's ruling, all 43 constabularies will now be required to do the same. Khan's tweet stated that misogyny will now be recorded as a hate crime and a huge victory for everyone involved in this cross-party campaign. Now, that should show you there's a red flag there. The fact that these parties, because you've got the Labour Party, you've got the Conservative Party, you've got the Liberal Democrats and a couple of others, you know, the Green Party and stuff, they've all come together with one accord. When you see them all coming together with one accord, you know that it's really something that the elites want to push. You know, because all of this sort of this party versus that party, it's just a smokescreen. It's just a smokescreen for the elites to give the illusion that there's actually conflict and these parties want different agendas. But no, all of these people are bought and paid for, and they're working to bring about the agenda of the New World Order elite. Now, I'm going to read a bit more of this, but before I do, when I first looked at this article, I was pissed, and I thought, oh, fuck, you know, man, just another thing for Esau to try and push. But when I woke up this morning, I thought about it, and I thought, you know what, man, this is actually a really, really cool thing to have happened. Because when you understand the prophecies, you'll see why I say this is actually a really cool thing. Let me finish the article first. So it says, Khan's tweet stated that misogyny will now be recorded as a hate crime, and it is a huge victory for everyone involved in this cross-party campaign. It's time for every Londoner to call out sexist and misogynistic attitudes wherever they are found, in the workplace, school, on the streets, or on public transport. Notice this is in the streets. They're coming for us, but they ain't going to get us. Baroness Williams also said, I will advise the House that on an experimental basis we will ask police forces to record and identify any crimes of violence against the person, including stalking and harassment and sexual offences where the victim perceives it to have been motivated by a hostility based on their sex. So all the woman has to do is feel in her bugged out brain, all she has to do is feel it, and all of a sudden you're guilty of